Pull up any list of greatest scientists in history, and Einstein is basically always number one. But here's an uncomfortable question. How much of that is really about him? And how much would have happened anyway, just a few years late, with someone else's name in the textbooks? Let's find out. Say Einstein gets hit by a runaway carriage in 1904, a year before he publishes Special Relativity. Does physics grind to a halt? Or does someone just pick up the pen? The obvious answer feels dramatic. Without Einstein, relativity doesn't happen. GPS never works properly, nuclear physics stalls out, and the 20th century looks completely different. That's not really what happens. By 1904, physics already had a crack running through its foundation, and multiple people were staring straight at it. Henri Poincaré had already worked out most of the mathematical machinery of special relativity. He was talking about the relativity of simultaneity and the impossibility of detecting absolute motion before Einstein's 1905 paper existed. Hendrik Lorentz had already derived the transformation equations that bear his name, the same equations Einstein used, just interpreted differently. The pieces were on the table. What Einstein actually contributed wasn't the math, it was the interpretation. He was the one willing to say out loud that there's no aether, no absolute frame, and time itself bends depending on how fast you're moving. Poincaré had the equations and flinched at the conclusion. Einstein didn't flinch. So, without Einstein, special relativity almost certainly still arrives, just messier and maybe a few years later, credited to Poincaré and Lorentz jointly, with none of the clean, radical framing. Special relativity, it turns out, is the easy one to replace. General relativity is a different story, and this is where things actually get shaky. By 1915, a mathematician named David Hilbert was working on the exact same field equations as Einstein at the same time, using a more elegant mathematical approach. Some historians think Hilbert may have actually written down the correct equations days before Einstein finalized his own version. There's an ongoing argument among physicists and historians about who technically got there first, and it's a surprisingly heated one for something that happened over a century ago. But here's the catch. Hilbert had the math, Einstein had the physics. Hilbert was solving equations someone else had already framed the problem for. He didn't invent the idea that gravity is the curvature of space-time caused by mass. Take Einstein out of the picture entirely, years earlier, and that conceptual leap doesn't have an obvious replacement. Gravity as geometry isn't a small mathematical patch, it's a total reinterpretation of what space and time even are. So here's where it gets uncomfortable for the great man theory of history. Half of Einstein's most famous discovery might have happened without him, right on schedule, argued over by two Europeans with excellent facial hair, and the other half might have just not happened, or happened decades later, possibly discovered by a very smug Hilbert who never lets anyone forget it. I don't know why that's the detail my brain keeps landing on, but here we are. If general relativity gets delayed by even 20 or 30 years, the effects compound. GPS satellites, which have to correct for relativistic time dilation just to stay accurate to within a few meters, that doesn't mean GPS never gets built. Engineers are good at duct taping around problems they don't fully understand, but the underlying physics of black holes, the expanding universe, and gravitational waves all trace back through general relativity's equations. Push the discovery back a generation, and you push back an entire branch of 20th century astrophysics along with it. Special relativity was an idea whose time had come, and history had 3 or 4 people racing to say it first. General relativity was an idea that needed one specific person willing to think about gravity completely wrong until it was completely right. Einstein wasn't irreplaceable. He was just early for half of what he's famous for.